You can go back and look, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but we had 109 counties, 150 of them had almost.
운동 간단히 하고 오늘은 분리수거도 해야 됩니다, 여러분. 너무 피곤해요. 영어 학원도 갔다 왔고. 일단 운동하겠습니다. 말을 떠들어봐야 무슨 소용이 있겠습니까?
The issues fixed where the poll workers just didn't know how to handle this equipment. The lines started moving. At the same time, when you have 400 people lined up at a polling location, you only allow 6 at a time in, and you can only scan a ballot. This is the first time we've used paper in the state in 20 years. We used to have the electronic machines.
Right. So I get it. A lot of states have made the transition. All I'm saying, Gabe, is look, I'm not looking to ascribe animus. I'm just saying it looks bad, and it looks bad over time. So I'm raising the issues, and I'm giving you a chance to respond because there are a lot of people tonight who may not get to exercise arguably the most important right we have. So I appreciate you answering the questions.
Ballots to 6.9 million registered voters. First time ever. We've done everything we can, and we're going to have record turnout. And you're right, it does look bad when we started off this morning, but we started addressing the issues as soon as we saw them, and by a little after lunch, nearly every problem was off our board. And we're trying to make sure that everybody can vote, and we encourage everybody to vote because it's literally the most important thing you can do in our democracy.
Gabriel Sterling, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Not an easy conversation for you to have. Thank you for having it.
Thank you. Good luck, Tom.
All right. All right, the pandemic that's taken over the planet, by the way, which is one of the complicating factors for preparing for voting and going out to vote. But we're starting to see things that we were suspicious of, okay? When did this virus first come? We've talked about that a lot on this show. We always believed it was sooner than they've told us. New satellite imagery shows a little bit different story than the one we've been told. Don't believe me. Chief Doctor's here. Sanjay Gupta. Next.
Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank.
I think me not being able to see might have given me a number of advantages in terms of learning to play.
Cobham's attention to detail has attracted some of the biggest names in the business, both in Africa and beyond. Artists who turn to him for his ability to cut through the noise and listen for what counts.
I can feel the strength of you next to me.
I can definitely use that. I've worked with the likes of Angelique Kidjo, Banky W, Adekunle Gold, Femi Kuti. Oh my goodness, it's quite a list. So that's it for this first verse.
But what I love most about him is how he challenges you to be the best you can be. Is he wouldn't accept you being mediocre. He wouldn't just take you doing the minimum. He's thinking about what would the people like? What would we put in that will make this song excellent? And that's the important thing. Kobe is always looking to raise others, take them beyond what they currently are.
Okay, you can come on now.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Focused on issues of health and nutrition, education, and economic empowerment. The Aliko Dangote Foundation is the largest private foundation in sub-Saharan Africa. Aliko Dangote Foundation, setting Africans up for success.
Tomorrow sounds good. With its new words, hot tips, and best-kept secrets, like local beats, touring bands, and classic tunes. It's the cheer of birdsong, crashing waves, and sleepless cities.
Tomorrow looks good. With familiar faces, colorful characters, and deep blue seas, like nothing you imagined, nothing you dreamed, bright as a canopy of stars.
It's your first flight, first night in town, and setting off at first light.
Tomorrow feels good with best laid plans, the best in town, and the best you've ever had.
Like sealed deals, bucket lists, and being there when it counts.
It's a home away from home, the thrill of the unknown.
In it together,
Or alone. Tomorrow isn't a world away.
stay home for now.
Dream forever.
Look at this. Everyone is on their knees as George Floyd's brother is on his knees.
Otherwise been a very peaceful day with people gathering here in large numbers full of passion and anger.
Love in the world is the thing that I believe in.
What we're trying to do is stand up for the basic rights of humanity.
We are tired and we want to see change. I'm Dan Canobolo outside London, and this is CNN.
The WHO, World Health Organization, is now clarifying comments made by an official that suggested people who aren't showing coronavirus symptoms are less likely to spread the disease. The official now says this is a major unknown. Let's add it to the list of things that is an unknown, because we keep to seem changing our understanding about like every aspect of this thing other than the reality you don't want it. Now remember, the CDC says a third of those infected may be asymptomatic, meaning you don't know you have. The CDC also believes 40% of transmissions happen before you feel sick. So anyone can think they're asymptomatic, but it's possible symptoms just haven't shown up yet. The WHO says the virus is spread mostly through droplets in the air. That's why you got to wear the mask. I know they used to say don't wear the mask. It changed. Their understanding changed. The facts change. Your position could change. It doesn't mean it's like not to be believed. Fight's far from over. WHO says more than 136,000 cases were reported Sunday. That's the most in a single day so far. Then why do you feel that it's getting better? The key word in that sentence is feel. Now, some of the big population centers, like the one I'm sitting in right now, things are getting better. The rates are going down. There is good news. But we do have more intel on that. Okay? We're going to show you what's happening since places are reopening. And a question that I think is the key to how we look back on this situation in terms of what was done right and wrong. When did they know? When did this start? We've been arguing on this show for a long time that this thing has been around longer than they told us. Why? You and I have always known why. You keep hearing from people who say they think they had it back around Thanksgiving, back before the holidays, back... Now what do the satellites show us? Chief Doctor Sanjay Gupta, next.
The coronavirus pandemic has changed the world, the way we live, work, and learn.
And then this is the fun part.
After schools, universities, and workplaces have locked down across the globe, we look at how the world of education has adapted to the biggest experiment in home learning we have ever seen.
I was amazed at the kids' responses and how human it felt to interact through the screen.
These are the technologies that will shape our world well beyond the pandemic.
Inventing Tomorrow, this weekend on CNN.
open doors, to develop contacts, and to unlock secrets. It takes trust.
It was the first time he really came out of his shell in front of a camera.
Trust that you'll listen.
So great that you're here today. It just highlights what's making a difference.
That you'll be honest. I don't want to pry, but what sort of conversations do you have with them? Trust that you'll be accurate and you'll be fair. It was an unprecedented move, very eerie. All the roads have been closed off. Describe the scene that you arrived to. The Apache attack helicopter. This is what Captain Wales has been flying. What do you do with Crimea?
This is Europe's problem.
Do you want talks with them?
What is the point of talking about?
We continue to monitor the government in crisis. This was the Duchess's first news interview. Rare access indeed. That's what you do. Max Foster, CNN.
As the global economy adjusts to life in lockdown, many businesses are leaping into action to join the fight against COVID-19. Despite its clothing stores being forced into temporary closure, jeans brand Levi Strauss has committed $3 million through its foundations to coronavirus relief efforts and supporting employees in financial need. Keeping good deeds in style, fashion brand Aritzia has launched the Aritzia Community Relief Fund to support the 3,000 plus employees and partners affected by store closures. The fund has raised more than $6 million. And helping our essential workers stay healthy, Smoothie King is pledging to donate $1 million worth of drinks to workplaces at the heart of America's coronavirus response. For more stories of the people making a difference and to find out how you can impact your world, go to cnn.com/impact.
My man, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
How worried are you about the protests spreading the virus? My brother used the term super spreader. Somebody going from protest to protest who has the virus, whether they know it or not. How big a concern? How long till we know?
I think there's a real concern here. I mean, the super spreaders, there's a few people who probably are responsible for the vast majority of spread. That's what we sort of find out in these big outbreaks. There are people who are more likely to spread it to other people. Some people say it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people are responsible for 80% of spread. You start putting them into situations like the one that you see there, you have a real concern. They not only are in close quarters, obviously, with other people, they may move around. Those people may then go to their own homes, their own communities, and that's how you start to see significant clusters. I mean, Chris, we've been talking about this for months. Nothing about the virus has changed. So, people in that close proximity is a concern. Outside, that's better. Wearing masks, that's going to help as well. If they could get tested, like your brother and other governors have said, that would be great, right? I mean, the testing, adequate testing, widespread, easily available, would help, reduce the spread of this as well. That's not available in all these places, as you know, Chris.
And we're starting to get data now about what reopening, having people more around one another, what that will mean in terms of cases. 2 weeks out from Memorial Day, we saw all the images of places, people going out without masks. I'm sure we all have our own anecdotal experiences about what people are doing and not doing. What can we show now at this point?
Yeah, I think there's sort of a few things happening at the same time. Memorial Day weekend, just over 2 weeks ago, obviously these protests that we've seen, states reopening, and then you add into that equation, states are doing more testing. Maybe still not enough, but that's going to add to the number of people who are diagnosed with the infection as well. I think, Chris, what I've been following, you want to follow the hospitalizations also. If you see sort of the upward trend of both cases and of hospitalizations, that gives you a sense that you're really seeing growing numbers of infections and more people getting sick. If you're just seeing increased cases, but the same level of hospitalizations, that's probably more reflective of testing. I think it's a little early to tell. As you know, if you take Memorial Day weekend as a point in time, 2 to 3 weeks after that. So I really, over this next week, have been watching, and you do see several states that have not only gone up, but have gone up by 50% over the last several days. Many of those states are states that reopened the beginning of May. You add Memorial Weekend on top of that, and that sort of leads to this problem.
And they'll push back with, well, we're testing more. But the two aren't mutually exclusive. You can be testing more and have a jump in cases because you're having more contagion.
That's right, and that's why I think you also got to look at the hospitalizations as well, because people who are getting sick from this in higher numbers, that would be more suggestive that in fact it's a more widespread contagion. Obviously, people who die, that's another point in time.
Now, quickly, I've been tracking this because I believe when the books are written by people like you, we will look back and say, boy, we had more time to prepare. We had to take this seriously. Anecdotally, you and I and everybody watching this right now have been hearing from people saying that, I think I had it. And some of them are getting tested and seeing that they still have antibodies from months ago. Now, a new Harvard study says coronavirus may have started to spread in China as early as last August, okay? Based on satellite images showing increased traffic in Wuhan hospital parking lots and increased internet searches for symptoms related to virus. What's your take?
This is fascinating, Chris, and this is a really fascinating study. So you're looking at these satellite images of parking lots, you're comparing it to years past and saying, wow, it's a lot more crowded, in October of 19 versus 18, or however they're looking at it. It's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting way to collect this sort of data, and I think it probably does mean something. I mean, I guess in your legal world, they say this is circumstantial evidence, so maybe not the best quality evidence. But I think it's highly suggestive. You add into that something else, which I think you saw in that study, Chris. Search terms for the word cough and I believe diarrhea went up as well. Symptoms that we now know are associated with this. So people were getting sick. They're going online saying, hey, what is this? What do these symptoms mean? They're going to the hospitals more often. It is quite likely. The only thing that throws a wrench into it a little bit, Chris, and I think we have the graph looking at the country here in the United States. Really, you see the peak of coronavirus cases and infections sort of in mid-April here. And it's sort of bounced around a bit since then. If it was really here a lot earlier, would we have seen a peak earlier? Now, I get it. We weren't necessarily looking because we didn't think it was here that much earlier. But still, if you look at the overall growth there, you see it really start in middle of March. Now, maybe there were cases earlier, but were there a lot of cases earlier? When did you really start to get this exponential growth like you're seeing on that graph? It took a while to get to that point. I think you're right, though. And you said, I got to give you credit because you said this all along. You said, well, maybe in the fall even of last year, there may have been cases of coronavirus in this country. And now when you look at the data, it's probably correct. If there were people in August being infected in China, a big city, and people flying out, I'm sure they were going all over the world.
Right, and it's not an I told you so. I'm right about things all the time. I don't get credit. I'm wrong twice as often. And that's okay. It all balances out. What I'm saying is preparedness and what we look for and how we are aware, what our early warning system is. That's why it matters. And then, don't sleep on circumstantial evidence. The overwhelming amount of cases are made on circumstantial evidence. What is direct evidence is you always being a plus. Thank you very much. And why is it direct evidence? Everybody knows it who sees you do your job. Thank you, brother. Be well.
I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
Sanjay Gupta. All right. When I come back, a quick thought as we go into Don about where we are today in terms of what happens next. We all know we can't stay where we are with things as they are. So what will make the difference? Next.
Air Quality Update in association with Copernicus, Europe's Eyes on Earth.
한 번 더 하겠습니다.
Air quality update in association with Copernicus, Europe's eyes on Earth. Innovate Africa in association with Dangote Transformational Projects.
In easier times, the Nigerian metropolis of Lagos is awash with activity. Much of the country's youthful population are under the age of 25 and are social media savvy.
This is my YouTube play button, and YouTube gives this to creators after they hit 100,000 subscribers.
For some, it's a form of entertainment. For others, it provides a serious business opportunity.
Work equals money, and the more I put out, the more I stand to earn. My niche is beauty and lifestyle, and I have presence on all the major social media platforms.
Social media and people's understanding of it is a continually evolving process that brings any number of challenges.
It's also anticipating that a lot of people misunderstand this line of work. They don't understand the amount of work that goes into it.
I'm Will Ripley, Tokyo, Japan, and this is CNN.
Business is all about making connections. But some connections are easier to make than others. With a CNN partner hotel, the world is always at your fingertips. CNN partner hotels, connected to your world.
Welcome to the lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We're going to begin with the politics lead, and one of the biggest bombshells to date.
The straight talk you need.
That seems to be, to me, completely contradicting.
From your man in Washington.
It's all food for thought when you and the public are trying to decide who to trust.
Who won't back down.
We're getting a new look at the headwinds that congressional Republicans already are facing. A monumental day in our politics.
The lead with Jake Tapper. Tuesday through Saturday on CNN.
I'm Clarissa Ward in London, and this is CNN.
Here's what I know. The key is the we. Us versus them got us here. Minorities are victims of a problem that the majority controls. Our leaders are not getting us to a better place, not by themselves. Our president is determined to keep us as divided as he can. The key is the we. If colors come together in a consensus of conscience, that's the righteous cause, and there will be change. Why? Because politicians act out of fear of consequence more than out of good conscience. And if they see that we're coming together, they'll move. Look at how quiet the GOPers are right now. Why? Because
이거 10개만 하고 끝내겠습니다.
make them fear you.
힘들어. 더 이상 못하겠어.
Change. Make it happen. Time for D Lemon, CNN Tonight, right now.
How you feeling today? Or tonight?
I feel worried. I feel worried. I feel sad for the obvious reasons of pain. That was, you know, you have to give it to the family and all that came together in Houston. They put their pain to purpose. And that was a beautiful thing to see. But it makes you worried about where we go next, because Don, we cannot stay where we are. I'm not talking revolution and rebellion and riots and all that. I'm saying we can't stay where we are.